Are we going? Looks like we are. G'day, buddy. How's it going? Oh, and the audio levels are still good. I'm surprised because it's been a while since I've done anything. Oh, starting a little bit early. Figure we'll give it a few minutes just in case any people like filter in or anything. I'm not expecting like particularly high viewership, but you know, we'll see how it goes. It's going to be fun. There is, it's hit and miss, the tint, because basically my camera battery is dead and the charger for it has disappeared. So I'm using my just normal laptop webcam instead of the fancy DSLR, and so that means like the lights are, yeah, it tries to adjust to balance, but because they've got a bit of a red hue, it like rends things up. What I could do is switch that over to like a blue or a green, and then we'll just drop the saturation a bit. Bit more than that. That'll do. That'll do. Nice and bright. Cool. How you doing? How's things? Staying on good form? Good enough anyway. Nah, yeah, no, I can't because I need the block that the battery goes into, because it's, you know, special square gubbin. If I had the block for it, then that'd be jobs are good in, but for the meantime I'm stuck cameraless. What I do need to do is order one of those like mains power ones so that I can just have it powered constantly, and as long as I don't stream for like hours and hours and hours, it's not gonna damage the sensor, which is cool. Will be much better after Tuesday. Yeah, I bet. Well, it should all be fine, hopefully. Fingers crossed. So I'm just replying to a message on chat real quick. Right, let's do a bit of a kickoff. The music is really loud in my ears. I'm just gonna turn that down on my. There we go. That's better. Okay. Nice. Yeah, I should be around. Yeah, I'm trying to think what I've actually got on. It's only the last. Oh yeah, YouTube chat's not working. Have I actually got it turned on? Oh, woo! I pressed a button in OBS and now it's doing things. I've got my magical overlay. And the chat box is enabled. And it is on top, because that was the issue I had last time, was that I had it behind the overlay, and so it was rendering in the background. But I've done it right this time. So let's have a look and see if it's working on the other screen. It doesn't look like it. Amazing. Thank you OBS. Very cool. It might be one of those where I just have to make do with the chat not functioning for the stream. which would be a shame. But there's only so much I could do about it. And like I say, I'm not imagining there's going to be like loads of people around to fill the chat out anyway. So if there's anything like any valuable questions or important notes, I'll read stuff out and we can make stuff go on. Similar issues with your follower goal on OBS. Yeah, I find that at least the Streamlabs OBS seems to be a little bit flaky. I want to use it because of the things like the chat box and all of the nice pop-ups and things, but it just doesn't seem to respond in the same way. Yeah, we'll see if they fix anything or if it gets more stable. I have just updated it, to be fair, so maybe it's that. Anyway, 5 minutes in, let's get down to business. So first thing I want to go over is kind of like talking just about schedule for the channel and live streams. I want to start streaming more again because streaming is fun. Streaming is relatively easy as long as I set aside a couple hours or so to get one done. It's an easier way to do work, and it kind of kills two birds with one stone because it means I'm actually getting code done and providing content for yourself and anybody else who rocks up or watches the channel, which especially like with devlogs and things, it's too much effort, I think, for the time being, especially because like a lot of what I do with the process of making games is just kind of like coming up with prototypes for stuff and messing around with things. And yeah, I'm kind of not in a position where I feel like I or the channel as an entity has the momentum to kind of keep pushing devlogs, so I'll probably not do devlogs full stop for the foreseeable future, just because it's kind of not particularly worth it. There was a good video by Whalegum actually around the curse of devlogs and how they suck for game developers, because you need to make the game to make a devlog, and you need to make a devlog to market the game, but making the devlog takes up too much time to work on the game, especially at the rate you need to pump them out. So it's just like, no, forget it, I'll just do live streams. So with that, I want to do, or aim to do, streams on like either a Tuesday evening or a Friday evening, and then on a Saturday, with the Saturday one probably being a bit of a longer one because weekend. And that means we can be doing fun things like working on main projects or working on these fun side projects. Like today we're going to be looking at netcode for game objects in the start of this new sort of educational series, which nicely leads me on to the second part of what I wanted to talk about, which is the actual kind of content that I want to do. And part of that is putting out more educational content, because I think, especially as far as Unity tutorials are concerned, there's a gap for actual good quality game development tutorials, in the sense that a lot of them teach you how to make a specific mechanic or how to achieve a certain thing or how to use a certain feature, but none of them really teach you about good code architecture, good system design, and how to actually solve problems using those tools. Like, especially in the case of something like netcode for game objects, it's quite easy now, especially with like CodeMonkey just put out the like 10-hour online multiplayer course, 6-hour course or something, and it's a fantastic course that does a pretty good job of teaching you the fundamentals of how netcode for game objects works, but it's predominantly just teaching people how to make Overcooked, really, like a networked Overcooked. So I want to use these streams outside of working on main projects to kind of break down interesting things or useful tips for how we can take knowledge that you've got for how to code or how to use a certain tool within Unity and actually apply that to your ideas, because that's certainly probably the biggest part that has, or one of the biggest players that's pushed me back as far as it has in terms of just making stuff, because I was one of those people who started off just watching brackies and all that. So hopefully these live streams will be kind of helpful to people. Yeah, that's the main two things. Projects wise, we do have a commercial project that we're working on. We're not working on it today because it's none of the stuff that's happening on it is particularly interesting at the moment. I might do like alternating streams, so Tuesday's stream might be working on the game, but we are developing a game called Tile Lands. It's up on Steam now. We are enrolled to Steam Next Fest for June, so you'll be able to get the demo in line for that. And yeah, it's a pretty cozy little city builder type thing, inspired by games like Islanders and Dorf Romantic. So if those kinds of games are up your street, feel free to go and leave it a wish list. And hopefully, yeah, check out the demo when it comes out later in the year, and the full thing when it comes out soon after that, hopefully. Should be good. Cool. So let's actually talk about what we're doing today now that I'm done with all of this preamble. My plan is we were going to recreate Secret Hitler, right, which is a board game that was made by the same guy who made Cards Against Humanity. Really fun kind of social deception game where you have a group of people. Some of them are fascists, some of them are liberals. One of the fascists is secretly Hitler, and the objective of the fascists is to pass fascist policies. Purpose of the liberals is to pass liberal policies. So if the liberals pass 5 policies, they win. If the fascists pass 6 policies or have Hitler as chancellor, then they win. And it's a really fun kind of little game which I wanted to like pull together so that, you know, Adam, for example, me, you and Alan, with some other people could just play it digitally if it's going to be a pain to get loads of people in the same place or something. Because I do have the digital, the physical copy now, picked that up today. And it's really nicely designed, but I've been working on putting together all of the assets and like messing around with design stuff for it, planning out layouts and figuring out how we're going to put this all together. And it's really cool. So the great thing about this as well is the game, first of all, was a print and play game, so completely free if you want to go down that route. And yeah, would you need licensing for this kind of stuff? I'm glad you asked. The license for it is the Creative Commons 4.0 license, which thankfully means I'm free to share and adapt it as I please, as long as I credit the original creators, don't sell it, and distribute it under the same license with no additional restrictions, which is why we love open source software and open source projects. So big shout out to the creators of Secret Hitler. Credits down here at the bottom. They're also credited in the description and will be credited in the final version. I will probably put it up on itch.io. It will be free. And it will be under this license with the source code, so anybody who wants to, again, develop on top or use anything is free to, and there is no illegal shenanigans with doing that. So really cool, really awesome. All of the assets I got just from the print and play version, I've just kind of screenshotted them, pulled them into Illustrator and started working around them so that they can be used a bit easier in Unity. And yeah, it's gonna be really fun, and we're gonna do it over the course of multiple episodes in this series. Reason being, I wanted to start off this first episode as like a beginner's intro to netcode for game objects, and kind of use it as an opportunity as well for myself to nail in any foundational things, because you know it's not simple. Making an online game by no means is a straightforward task. So we're going to start off today. The goal is to basically just make like rock, paper, scissors, or noughts and crosses, actually. Yeah, Adam, which shall I do? Shall I do noughts and crosses or rock, paper, scissors? And we're going to try and make the whole thing as an online game in this stream. It could go terribly wrong, but we're going to keep the fingers crossed that everything goes smoothly and we can actually pull this off. Which I think we should be able to, because both noughts and crosses and rock, paper, scissors are relatively simple. Noughts and crosses, okay. Cool, so, fantastic. What we'll do first, let me just go over what we've got in the project, so that we're all on the same page. We've imported Unity Netcode for game objects from the documentation. We're using version 1.2.0. The default one that you get through the package manager is 1.0.2, which has some little differences around things like relay and lobby, and also, you know, like smaller things like bug fixes have been introduced in the later version. So it's better to go through with this version, and this is the version that we'll be using for this quote-unquote tutorial series. I've also imported a package called Parallel Sync, which is one that I found out from Taro Dev. It basically just, instead of me having to build a version of the game every time we want to test the networking, it will just it'll basically create a clone of the project, and then I can use that as the second client, or the client rather than the host, basically. Otherwise, we've got modern UI pack, just so I can make some UI that doesn't look like absolute trash, because Unity's UI by default is kind of rubbish. And I've gone ahead and just created some folders. We've got some fonts in here for the Secret Hitler stuff, color scheme for Secret Hitler as well. And I've created a game manager script, which at the moment is literally just a blank mono behavior. I made it purely so that I could get Visual Studio open with all the code from the project as a basis. So cool. First things first, I want to get it so that we can actually like get some clients connecting in here. So we are going to go ahead and create a new folder. I'm going to call it UI components, and I'm going to create a main menu view, which that naming convention comes from a setup that I use separately. If you're not familiar with that, it's available to see like what I'm doing in the previous online networking live streams that I did before. But I'll probably move some stuff over as we get more in depth and kind of explain what we're doing. Nothing says quality like made in Unity style screen. Yeah, tell me about it. It's one of those annoying things that people who use Unity always complain about, that you have to pay to get rid of that splash screen. So all of the trashy games that don't have any budget have the splash screen, which means that people immediately assume Unity makes bad games, but that just is not true at all. It's quite funny. Right, so we're going to go ahead and create a couple of serialized fields. We're going to be using a button, which is going to be from the Unity UI package. We're going to have a host game button and serialized field private button join game button. And these are going to be really simple. All we're going to do is, let's not do it like that. Let's just have our awake function. I'm going to go ahead on the host game button. We're going to go hostgame.onClick.addListener. Going to use a lambda expression. And all we're going to do in here is use network manager and make sure that we import the Unity.Netcode package. This is our basic everywhere where netcode stuff exists, basically. I keep looking at the secondary monitor, like thinking my camera's up here, but my camera's down here at the screen that I'm looking at, which is really weird, because usually I have it different, but I need to make a new overlay to work with 16:9 aspect ratio instead of 16:10. Right, so we're doing network manager.singleton, which is the static singleton instance of the network manager, and we're simply going to do start host. like that. Super simple. Likewise for the join game button, going to do onClick.addListener, throw in some gubbins for our lambda expression, bang bang, thank you ma'am, and we're going to do network manager dot singleton dot start client. Amazing. So that is effectively as simple as it gets for like joining people to the game. What I'm going to do is let's go ahead and in our game manager we'll just we'll set this up so that it can work with some network things, because I mean, yeah, let's do this a bit better. So with that main menu created, let's go ahead and create first of all an empty object for our network manager, and we will add the network manager component to this. Gonna dismiss this notification. That's just it being like, yo, we've got extra tools, i.e. lobby, relay, Unity gaming services for all that fun stuff. But we're not going to worry about any of that yet. We will do that in future episodes. So when you first add a network manager to a game object, it's going to give you a very nice setup for setting a transport, which, for a bit of background, Unity Netcode for game objects is what is known as a high-level API. The idea being that it abstracts away all of the like nitty-gritty details like handling packets, tunneling, and all the rest of it. It takes all of that, automates it on the bottom layer, and just gives you access to some high-level methods that you can use for sending messages such as RPCs, synchronized variables, and the rest of it, which we'll discover in more detail as the stream goes further. But part of that is the transport layer, which is effectively the way that we send the messages across the network, and the low level of the system. So Unity ships with two by default. You've got the Unity transport and the UNet transport. UNet was Unity's old networking implementation, so we're going to choose Unity transport. And by picking that, it automatically adds a transport layer to the game object, transport component, and everything is now good to go. So what we can do just to get this set up on a basic level, let's create an empty game object called player object. I'm going to call it player network object. And we're going to go ahead and put a network object component onto this, and that makes this now a networked thing. I'm doing this now because I want to make it as a prefab, so I'm going to go ahead, create a folder for prefabs, and drop our player prefab in there, delete it from our scene, and then you can see on the network manager we have a slot for a player prefab. So I'm going to go ahead and drop our player prefab that we've just made into that slot, and that means when we start up a client, either by starting the host, which starts a server and a client simultaneously, or by just starting the client on its own, it will automatically spawn in that player object for us, which is fantastic. So yeah. We'll keep it like that for now. So let's go ahead and actually make the UI component for our menu. I'm going to go ahead and create a canvas. We're going to just leave the name as canvas. That's fine. I'm going to set the scaling size to scale with screen size. We are going to match the height, and we're going to set the reference resolution to 1920 by 1080. Nice and simple. Oh, and this is one of those moments where I'm wishing I had, like, I could use my scale display, because screen real estate really is an amazing thing. So let's go ahead and create our buttons. I'm going to go UI button. No, we're going to use the modern UI pack, button, basic. Never changed my mind. We are going to use Unity's normal UI button, text mesh pro. This is going to be our host button. Let's go ahead and make this a bit bigger. Something like that. Take our text. We are going to change this to host game. I'm going to set auto size to true and just add some padding, maybe like 25 on each side so it sits in there a bit nicer. Cool stuff, cool stuff. Duplicate this, move it down a bit. This is going to be our join button. Change the text to join game. Oh my gosh, can't type. There we go. And I'll tell you what, let's actually create an empty. This is going to be our main menu UI. Set that to scale. And I'll stick the buttons under here because that way we've got it separated from any other UI that we want to have in this screen if we want to change some stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and put the main menu view onto this main menu UI object, drag in our references, press save, and this is where I'm wondering if Unity spits out some debug logs by default, which I think it should, but if we play and hit the host game button, we'll see it's just spawned in a player object. We can also see on our network manager, which is no destroy and load, we now have this stop host saying instead of a like the three buttons that were there previously. So we are starting a host successfully. If I click this stop host button, you can see that it's removed our player object from the scene, and we are good to go. Basically, we are joining things in. So if I pop open my clones manager on Parallel Sync real quick, which again for anyone who missed it is a tool that we can use to create additional client projects without having to build our Unity game every time we want to test the online functionality. I'm going to create a new clone, and that's just going to duplicate everything over real quick. Give that a minute and just ask how's everyone going? How are we all doing? It is as Adam said earlier on, it's the Easter time. It's Good Friday. My Good Friday has been pretty good. We went to meet a cat that we're looking to get, and I think we're definitely gonna take him. We'll be picking him up on Monday. He is a lovely little boy, very friendly, and yeah, very exciting. That's about it really. it's been pretty chill, but hopefully everyone else is also having a good Friday, and has some nice things planned for the weekend as well. Cool. So let's just pop over. I'm gonna not that button, spin up a new desktop real quick to stick our new synchronized client on. I am going to close. Stop. We're going to have the game view, the hierarchy, and the inspector, and a console. That's all I want on this one. Brilliant. So we can see what's happening in the game, any logs, and stuff in the hierarchy. So it's going to be a little easier to debug stuff as well. But I'm thinking probably if I try and join a game when there isn't a host, we're going to get an error. So if I click join game over here, oh no, it has started a client. Ooh, how has it started a client when there is no host? That's very curious. Very curious indeed. I feel like that shouldn't be possible. It should throw me an error, but we keep trucking. What I'm gonna do is trying to think about the best way to kind of architect this. I think I probably want to go with some Probably want to use some kind of event system so that when, you know, when stuff happens, we can fire out events, and then the UI can listen for those events and update appropriately. But at least for the time being, let's go ahead and set ourselves up some debug UI so that we can see kind of, you know, people are joining the game, we have members in, etc, etc. So in my game manager script, I'm going to go ahead and instead of being a mono behavior, we're going to make this a network behavior, which, whoops, not that button. Stop. There we go. Using netcode, Unity.netcode. So a network behavior is basically just a networked mono behavior. Seems like a bit of a no-brainer, but that's that's what that is. So this gives us access to a whole bunch of things like checking to see if we are currently the host or if we're currently just a client. Access to a whole load of events like when a client connects or when a client disconnects and things like that. So we can basically set up a whole bunch of listeners for things on the server side using this. And while I'm here, it's important that we make a distinction, because this is something that lots of people get confused about, myself included, when starting to learn netcode stuff, and that is the difference between a server and a client. A lot of the time, people who've been doing development or working with Unity for a while think about server and client as objects in the game, and that's not how it works. The server and the client refer to a specific game instance or a specific machine. So imagine we have this machine over here, this is my machine, it is a host, and we have a machine over here, this is like my friend's machine, this is Adam's machine, and this has this is the client, it's connecting to the server. Both of these will have two player objects on them. It will know which player object is owned by this client on the host over here, or this client that isn't a host over here, but the server machine gets some special behavior, and the client machine gets its own independent behaviors as well, and they'll be run based on which machine it is that's running. So with that in mind, we can do some things to like allow specific behavior just on the server or just on a client, for example. So first things first, I want to do on server. Do I want to do on server on connected to server? No, that's called on the client. I would like on server initialized, called on the server when initialized server has invoked. I believe that's the method that I want. Actually, this might be one of those moments where we want to look at the documentation. And which section is it under? There's a nice little flowchart on here. Network spawn, that's what it is, I believe. Yeah, there's a nice little flowchart somewhere in the documentation for like what order things are fired off in, and it's incredibly handy for like working out how we should be firing off messages. But I believe on network spawn is actually what I want. Yeah, cool. There we go. Public override on network spawn. So, in this, we can set a thing up to listen for when a client connects to the server. So I'm going to have a public int connected clients. We'll set that equal to 0 by default. and on network spawn we can say, just make sure that this is make sure it runs how I think it is, because this is where like the hold on. No, I'm going to switch this up completely. Forget what I'm saying there. Let's rewind a little bit. Back over in Unity, I'm going to make a new script. Just clear that real quick. I'm going to make a new script called player network behavior. No, I'll just call it player network. That's fine. This is going to be, go away please, a network behavior and then in here I want to override on network spawn. And probably not the best way to do it, but for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to fire off an RPC to the server to say that we've connected, basically, and that way we can synchronize that value across the network so that anyone. Yeah, we can like use it in the UI and things like that. So, let's go ahead and do that. We're going to create a new server RPC, which RPC is a remote procedure call. That is a method that can be fired on the server from a client, in the case of a server RPC, or from the server onto clients, in the case of a client RPC. So at the moment, what we want to do is say when a person connects to the server, when the client connects to the server, or when the client confirms that it is spawned on the server, we want to tell the game manager to increase the number of connected clients, and then that's going to be reported elsewhere. While I'm thinking about it, I have a feeling on network spawn should just fire on the server, or it might fire on both. Wherever those was false, don't expect. I want to know about whether this gets fired on the server or on the client. I mean, I feel like I'm doing this all incredibly the wrong way around. There should be probably a on client connected callback or something, which isn't on connected to server. Yeah, here we go. So what I want to do actually is have on server initialized, and then from that we can listen to the events on Brain, listen to the events on the network manager. So we can say network manager dot on client connected callback plus equals network manager underscore on client connected callback. Thank you so much. Client connected callback, and we'll go ahead and auto generate this method. So this is an event that is given to us again by Unity through the network manager. It gets called whenever a client connects. And yeah, we can use this to increase our connected clients. So we'll just say connected clients plus plus. And we'll do a similar thing for on client disconnected network manager dot on client disconnected callback plus equals network manager underscore on client disconnected callback. Generate this method, and we will do the same kind of thing, except we will decrease our value instead of increasing it. So that's all well and good. For the sake of ease, I'm going to convert the connected clients into a network variable, which simply allows us to, it just automatically syncs that value between clients, basically. So we can read that back. Although I think probably there would be some way to see how many clients are connected. So let's instead, let's do it like that. Instead, I'm going to have a public event handler of type int, and we will call this on players in server changed, and then we can simply fire off that event. Question mark dot invoke. And then we'll do network manager dot singleton dot, there's got to be some count for the number of players. Oh yeah, connected clients. Oh, that's nice. So we get a list of all the connected clients with their respective details. So we can do, I guess, connected clients list dot count. Of course this, because we are doing a event handler. So let's pop that in down here as well. And then we will go ahead and create a new UI view, C# script, and we'll call this game test view. We are going to have a serialized field private text mesh pro UGY for connected players display. We will have a public void awake, and in here we are going to say game manager, which actually, let's go ahead and make this a singleton. Public static game manager instance. Gonna make this get private set. Whoa, not like that. Set. And then in our awake method, we'll say instance equals this. So we can say game manager dot instance dot on players and server changed plus equals game manager underscore on players in server changed. generate that method. And then we can go ahead and say connected players display.text equals e.toString. Like so. Woo! Careful now. Cool. And I'll tell you what, we'll also add in a serialize field private button, again using Unity Engine.ui, and we'll call this disconnect button. We'll go ahead, disconnect button dot on click dot add listener. Network manager. Make sure we're using unity.netcode.singleton.disconnect. Oh wait, is it disconnect? Oh, what's the method called? There's a method for stopping the host. I might have it in my notes, in my nifty little notebook. Shut down, that's it. We are going to do network manager.singleton.shutdown. And that's handy, because what it will do, if you're the host, it will shut down the host and the client. If you're just the client, it will shut down the client. So it will handle all of our disconnect stuff for us, basically, which is really nice. And we're going to have to throw in some stuff for like handling if the host shuts down and the client's still connected, then obviously we want to boot the client off as well and return them to the main menu. But that is all fine. So, for now, let's, you know what, I can, no, I'll do it on here, yeah. Let's have a serialized field, private game object, test game UI, and we will just go ahead and say test game UI dot enabled, let's set active true, and game object dot set active false, and we'll do the same thing down here as well. Same thing in this one. Main menu UI dot set active true, and game object dot set active false, so that we got some showing and hiding. So I'm going to duplicate our main menu UI and call this our game test UI. We are going to remove the main menu script and replace it with our game test view script. And let's go ahead and actually create these values. So I'm going to rename the join button to quit disconnect. Update the text. Amazing. I'll move it down a bit further as well. Move like -375. While we're doing this, let's disable our main menu UI too. And we're going to create a new UI, Text Mesh Pro. Let's make the color our dark color. and we're going to use open sans, center, players in game. We will turn off our turn off wrapping, enable overflow, set those to 0, and let's make this nice and big so we can see it. Move it up a bit, and then I'm going to duplicate it, move it down. Just put 0 as default, and then this is going to be our title, player count, and we will go ahead, stick our disconnect button in there, player count button in there, main menu UI in there. Go ahead and disable that, and likewise on the UI we will drag and drop in our test game UI. So all being well, oh, and of course if we get the game manager in here as well, yeah, let's create an empty game manager. That's not how you spell. Drop our game manager script on there. We are going to add a network object because it's a network behavior. And fantastic. Let's press play. All being well, when we press host game, we should see a value of 1 in our thing. I am fearful, but yeah, still 0. And I think the reason for that is going to be because our client is connecting before the server is initialized, I guess. So we're not ever ending up firing off this event, and therefore not increasing the thing, which is unfortunate. So I could do with finding that lovely little loop of things, or what we can do actually, if we start over here and we host the game, it says 0, but if we go over to this other client and join the game, theoretically we should get 2 showing up in the other one. That's the plan anyway. So yeah, still 0. Join game, 0 here. Still 0 there. Interesting. So I wonder why that is actually. Yeah, that's very, very curious. Let's have a little debug.log over here. Server is initialized. Ooh, whenever initializing the server. Interesting. So, let's have a look and see where this happens. Network behavior. I wonder if we're just not initializing the server somehow. Wait. Network.initialize server was invoked and has completed. I wonder if we have an on server. Whoa. It's got to be on server initialized. That feels like the only one that makes sense. let's do a Google. Unity Netcode for game objects on server initialize. Call on server. I have a feeling that it's not going to be very well documented, is it? Of course not. So, in that case, let's have a look for, it's going to be under networking. Maybe we do just use, on server, on network, what was it? It's not going to be on network spawn though, is the thing. Hold that thought, let's have a look and see. What makes sense? Unconnected to server, called on the client. I don't want that. None of these are what I want. Going to be one of those where I go off on a rant about how Unity needs to improve their documentation. Bear with me. We are going to go and look at a script I wrote earlier. Assets. Wrong one. Online RTS assets. Scripts. Systems. Game manager. Let's have a look. It is on network spawn. Override. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. On network spawn. Yeah, you need to be public. And then we're going to take this and we're going to wrap it with is server. Bruh, why aren't you coming in? We're a network behavior, we're using Unity Netcode. Oh, is server. There we go. Haha. So now, yeah, when this method gets fired, or this method gets fired when the object is spawned on the server, we will check to see if this is the server that this is running on. Then we will register these methods to the thing, and this is a nice distinction to have, because it means we can also throw in an if statement for if we're the client, which actually let's do that down here. We will say if is client, and we can do a similar sort of thing. So we'll grab our two what's it's over here. Let's debug initialized GM on server. Same thing, initialize GM on client. And rather than doing network manager on client, blah, 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 we're going to have these ones be renamed to server on client connected and server on client disconnected. And then down here, let's actually have some new methods called network manager underscore client on client connected and client on client disconnected, and we'll go ahead and generate those methods. And we will spit out a little debug.log client disconnected, and again client connected. Cool. So everybody, fingers crossed. Let's hope this behaves as we expect. We should at least see the debugs. We might not see the UI update, but yeah, amazing. So you can see actually, because when we host a game, it's creating a server and a client. So we're getting our server printout message over here. We're also getting initialized GM on client and client connected. So important to know, if you want to keep the behaviors completely separate, you need to specify else if you're the client, not just doing both. Otherwise, this stuff will be fired off on both entities. So let's go ahead on our other instance. We're going to go ahead and try and join the game, see what we end up with. Still completely separate, but we can see we've got both players on the thing. Fantastic. So we are getting and players in game has updated to 2 over on this client. Fantastic, amazing. That means we're doing something right. Fantastic. And if I go ahead now and disconnect from here. Ooh, hasn't updated to 1. Interesting. If I shut down the host, we do get a client disconnect message. Fantastic. Cool. So that's progress. This is steps in the right direction. We now have successfully clients connecting to a server and clients being disconnected from the server automatically when we shut down the server. Fantastic. Cool. So what I want to try and do now is get us in a position where we are keeping track of the players on the server properly. We can actually get an idea of, who's where, basically. And I think the way I want to do that is by spawning the players through our own code rather than doing it using Unity's default automation. So I'm going to go ahead here on the network manager and we're going to remove the prefab from the player prefab slot. Just means that it won't spawn anything in automatically. And instead, we're going to add a entry to our network prefabs down here and drag in our player network object. So for Unity Netcode for game objects, similar to something like Mirror or Fishnet, you have to assign all of your networked objects that will be spawned on the network as network prefabs. Unity's Netcode for game objects has this as a list on the network manager. Other solutions have them as scriptable objects or also behave in the same way, but this is effectively what we have to do to make this successful. So what we can do now is on the server, rather than going straight ahead and just invoking our thing saying that we've got a new person, let's go ahead and create ourselves a serialize field for a transform, which is our player network prefab, like so. And then before we fire off our event, let's go ahead and actually spawn in a player object. So we're going to do var player equals instantiate. There we go. Player network prefab. And we will then say, so that instantiates it normally. That will happen on the one client. We now want to spawn it on the network, and we do that simply by doing player dot get component, because we want to get access to the network object, and then we are going to spawn as player object, from which we can pass in this obj. Which is actually the ID of the player that's just connected. And let's go ahead and make sure we're actually putting this in our on-server connected callback, not the on-server disconnected callback, because that would be very messy. And yeah, like I say, we only want to be doing this on the server, because if we do it on the clients, we're going to get all sorts of wacky stuff going on, and you can't assign like ownership and things. Doing it that way. So let's go ahead and test this out. We'll make sure that we actually assign this prefab as well. Hit the play button. And now when we host game, amazing, we can see that we spawn in this player network object, which is fantastic. Cool stuff, cool stuff. I am very interested as to why this doesn't update the count properly when we disconnected our client before. I have a sneaking suspicion that it's probably going to be some really annoying race condition, which is a pain, to say the least. There's kind of not much we can really do about that. I mean, the alternate is to, like we were going to have before, if we have a public network variable of type int called connected players, and then network variables have to be instantiated or initialized at the top rather than in a constructor. We're just going to go ahead and do this as default. There are a lot of extra options that you can chuck in there for like whether it's writable by clients or if it's writable only by the server, etc, etc. We're not going to worry about any of that at the moment. Just know it defaults to only being writable by the server and readable by clients. So rather than doing anything funky, we're gonna brain, please work. So on connected players changed, let's rename it to that. And then what we can do, rather than on the client side, we can add ourselves in a hook on the callback for this network variable. So connected players dot on value changed plus equals actually no, I don't need to do it like that. We want to be doing this in the client instead. Bang. Not in the client, sorry, on the UI. So we can do all of this behavior as usual. in fact, I think we can get rid of this event handler entirely, and instead we will say connected players.value plus equals 1, or minus equals 1 for disconnect, and plus equals 1 for when the client connects. And then over on our game test view, we will just listen to our connected players.on value changed. And that's just going to take, it's going to take a int previous value and an int new value. Whoops. And we'll just go ahead and use the new value. So yeah, the callback for on value changed in network variables is simply whatever the type you passed in is an old value and a new value. That will automatically sync across all of our clients, so we don't have to worry about any like desyncing or weird issues when we join new clients. This will always be the same across all of them, and we can keep track of that value properly. So theoretically, all being well, we should have the correct values coming in now. Let's go ahead and confirm. Host game. Oh, still 0. But why? I imagine that probably means we're going to be the same over... Oh well, it won't be the same over here, because now when we join the game, it's going to use the value from the server. And there we go. So it's updated to 2 correctly. Still got 2 over here. Disconnect. It's updated to 1. We can connect back in again. It's 2. Fantastic. And it's updated to 2 back over here as well. Cool. Disconnect from there. Nothing's going to happen over here. But we want to make sure that we handle that. So actually, let's go ahead and do that quickly now, which I'm going to have to refer back to my notes for, because there's some special stuff that we have to do when we're handling disconnects. And yeah, we're gonna want to make sure that when the server is shut down, we also go ahead and shut down our players as well. So, bum 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 bum. Let's just go ahead and double check what I got. Yep, that's fine. Yeah, it might be worth separating some stuff out here so that we can yeah, keep track of some things. Keep track of some things separately, but we'll worry about that later, I think. Yeah, we'll worry about that later. Let's go ahead and add a... I wonder, do we have a network manager dot on? We don't have an on server stopped. Oh, we have on client disconnected though, that's fine. So let's go ahead and on the client side, yeah. Ooh, I wonder if we can do that. So yeah, what I'm thinking is if on client disconnected is fired on all of the clients, when a client disconnects, because it's keeping track of which client it was that disconnected. So I mean, it probably would be easier to just fire an RPC, but no, because the server's shut down. Wait a minute. I'm just going to do a test real quick, because obviously we didn't have the UI updating when we joined previously, and I want to see why that's not. Yeah, so we got client connected here, you see, which means this method is firing, therefore connected players.value is increasing, and so we should be getting this set to 1, but for some reason it's not. So let's go ahead and find out what the deal is. Gonna put a little debug line in there, so yeah, when we get this update we will see what the case is. Let's disconnect. Oh, I can't because we need to recompile. Host game. Great, yeah, I think it's just not, it's not firing the, it's not actually updating the value. Even though we're getting this new client connected fired off, it's not doing the thing. Unless the on value changed event is only run on clients, which would be good to know. Let's have a look. Network variable. On value changed. Maybe that could be our problem. If we're not on the network yet, it's going to fire off without listening. Want to keep in mind. Although I think we're probably petering off course in terms of what an appropriate architecture for this game should be. So obviously we're making noughts and crosses as per request. So important requirements for noughts and crosses, obviously we take turns. Yeah, you know what, let's start building out a flow for the game manager. So when I'm making a game and I'm building out a game manager, I like to have myself a little public game state. It's actually, yeah, let's make it public current state, and we're going to go ahead and create the game state as an enumerator. Public enum, not an enumerator, just an enum. Again, don't know why I'm looking at the screen. Camera's down here. So public enum game state, and we're going to have a few states in here. We're going to have waiting for players, player 1 turn. No, we won't do it like that. We'll have player turn and check for win, game over. So 4 states. The initial state is going to be waiting for players. Then we'll have player turn, check for win, and game over. So important note about network variables and anything that you want to synchronize over the network. You can only sync non-nullable types because I don't know. I'm not particularly savvy enough on why netcode needs to be like that. But you can't synchronize a non-nullable type or anything that isn't a reference type. So game objects, for example, can't be synchronized via RPC or via network variable. Likewise, scriptable objects, transforms, anything that's like a complex data structure that could be null can't be synchronized. Lucky for us, game state is an enum, which is non-nullable. It's a reference type, so we can sync it, and that's very handy for keeping things linked up between our players. So I actually want to go ahead and create a network variable for our game state called current state, and again we're going to set this to new, and we're going to set the default to waiting for players. I'm going to create an update method, and this is simply going to do all the handling of our game state stuff. So we're going to go ahead, create our little switch statement. Let's can I autocomplete, please? No. I can add the default case. Usually it lets you autofill, but that's fine. So let's have a case for waiting for players. Whoops. Yeah, that's it. We need to be switching on value. There we go. There we go. Yeah, so to access the value of a network variable, you have to do name.value. You can't just reference it directly because it's obviously like an encapsulated type for sharing over the network. So let's also go ahead here. We want to make sure that game logic is only happening on the server because, like I say, we want to be syncing this from the server to the client so that everyone's all linked up. So let's go ahead and say if not is server, we'll return. Add a comment in here just to say ensures game state is only managed by server. Cool. Digga-digga-dee. We'll also want to put in a little if not network manager dot. Actually, I don't think we even need network manager. If not server initialized. There's a thing for if the server is initialized or not. Ooh, I'll check it later, because otherwise I have a feeling this is going to throw us some errors. Anyway, let's go ahead and create some public void handle waiting for players. Players. Public void handle player turn. Public void handle check for win. And public void handle game over. Cool. So then in here, hey, Matt's here. How you doing, man? You need to let me know when you push up those sound things. I'm very eager to hear what you got. It's gonna be good. For now, current stream, we are working on just messing around with netcode for game object stuff. We have done a plug, don't worry. The people know to wish list. Link in the description for anybody who's joined late. Tirelands available at some point. Demo will be going live during Steam Next Fest later on in the year. So do go ahead and wish list this lovely little peaceful city builder if you haven't already. Developed by yours truly. Sound design by Matt, who is in chat right now. Handle player turn. We want handle check for win. And handle game over. So, yeah. I like to go around this kind of approach with game managers where we have basically a state machine, or a very basic state machine. So we have this thing that's tracking the game state, and then we can do some stuff based on what the current state of the game is. And that's going to be very handy. So the way I'm thinking that we do this is we basically we'll wait for two players to be in the game. So in here we'll just say we can do this very simply actually. We can say if connected players is less than 2, return. And let's make sure we're doing connected players.value, because we want to make sure we're using it as it's just a network component, or network variable even. Oh, Bluetooth's being a bit sketchy on my mouse. Otherwise, we can update our state to the first player turn. Also, Matt, thank you. I'm doing good. Having technical difficulties as per, first time back streaming in a few months, and the chat box for YouTube isn't working, and my camera battery's dead, so I'm using my normal laptop webcam. Yeah, we're kind of winging it and seeing how things go. Cool. So mouse, please function. I'm debating whether or not I want to do this in the update, or if I want to just create a separate method. We'll leave it in the update for now. Usually what I would do, I'd have a separate method called change state, where you would call change state, pass in the state you want to change to, and that would do all the gubbins. But for the time being, let's just go ahead and update our state here. So we'll do network, not network, current state.value equals handle player turn. No, what am I on about? Just player turn. Game state.player turn. And that will immediately take us into this one. And the way we're going to do this is we are going to basically have a boolean to check if it's noughts or crosses turn. We'll assign a player. Yeah, that sounds like a plan. So rather than having just a count of players, we'll have a dictionary. We'll have a dictionary, and we'll assign people what their current state is going to be, or what their thing is going to be. I think that feels like the right-ish way to do it. Yeah, cool. So I'm gonna, we're going to do a bit of a rewind, step back a little bit. I'm going to create a new script under my network components called tic-tac-toe network driver. So this is going to be like the primary portal for all of our network behavior, effectively. So things like starting up the host, starting up the client, doing all of the spawning the players, etc, etc. We are going to go ahead, open this up. We are going to make it a network. Whoa. Let's do this properly. Network behavior. Make sure we are using no. I just accidentally created network behavior as a class, which is not what I wanted to do. It should be network behavior with a U and using netcode. Let's go ahead and delete our custom network behavior class that we got here. Delete, thank you. Would it be streaming if there were no tech difficulties? Absolutely not. You are bang on the money. It would be a lie if there were no technical issues. Much like programming. Wouldn't be real if there weren't any technical issues. Cool, so we're going to make this a singleton, public static tic-tac-toe network driver instance. Get private set. Go ahead and create our awake. We're going to do this properly this time. If instance is not equal to null, this is how you should really handle singletons in Unity, especially ones that don't destroy on load, which this one will be. We're going to say destroy game destroy game object and return, so that we don't do anything else. Otherwise, we're going to say instance equals this. We're going to say don't destroy on load game object, and cool. That's where we're going to start. So, like I say, this is going to be our core for everything that we've got in the game. So we're actually going to use this class for keeping track of what players we have joined, and kind of other functions like that. So when the player tries to join a game, if it goes wrong, we can handle stuff like this. It's going to be our core network driver. Any of the main network code is going to go in here. So first thing I want to do is go ahead and create ourselves a private network list, which is a different kind of network variable. It's like a pre-programmed networked list, effectively. Thank you, Unity. And we're going to use our player network as the parameter that we pass in here. It's going to be our player network data. And actually, yeah, that's not how I'm going to want to do it. We're going to want to rename this to player data, and I'm actually going to go ahead and just create another class in here, public class player data, and this is going to inherit from iEquatable, I believe, of type player data, and we also need iNetwork serializable, and let's go ahead and implement these interfaces. I think that's what we need. Yeah, cool. Don't want to make this a struct. Fantastic. Banging. So yeah, conditions of let me just turn that back to a class so that we can see that. Conditions of anything that you need to be networked, as it says here, it needs to be non-nullable, and it needs to it needs to be non-nullable, basically. Most things also require that you have iEquatable implemented so that it can verify things are the same or different. And then iNetwork serializable is how we can define serialization of custom data, effectively. So because we're creating this nice custom data structure for our player data, we want to be able to serialize that in a special way, so that we can like keep track of things nicely. But we will come back to that. At the moment, we're just gonna know that we're using this here script as a way of tracking like what players we have in the game and what players we don't have in the game. So let's make sure we initialize this list. Player network data equals new network. And actually, I wonder, can I do this up here? I have a feeling it doesn't like this, but we're going to try it. Oh, no, it does. Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to initialize it up there, because that will potentially save us some issues. The difference, if you initialize it underneath, like, so yeah, if I were to go in here and say player network data equals new, like so, we'd then also have to go ahead and do player network data.initialize, and that actually initializes the parameter across the server, and it requires you to pass in a network behavior. I have a feeling doing it like this will just do that automatically, so we're going to do it like this instead and see what happens. We're going to add a callback to player network data dot on list changed, similarly to the on value changed for our other network variables. We're going to create a new method, player network data underscore on list changed. Cool. Let's go ahead and make that method. Just going to add some extra space in between our class down there and this one up here so that we can keep things nicely separated. And yeah, we'll throw in a little event. So public event handler, and yeah, on player network data list changed. And we'll go ahead and just invoke that method on player network data list changed dot invoke this, and we're going to do event args.empty because we don't need to pass any information. Cool. So let's go ahead and actually move some of our other logic over here as well, for the like client connection and disconnection stuff. This network driver is going to be like our main hub for all the things. So we will go ahead and create, I'm trying to think about how I want to do this. Yeah, that's going to solve a lot of our issues actually. So we'll actually create a public void start host over here. And the last thing we're going to do in here is start up the host. So we'll go ahead and call network manager.singleton.start host as we had before. And this way, rather than calling network manager.singleton.start host, let's call tic-tac-toe network driver.instance.start host. And we'll do the same thing for start the client. We'll just go ahead and client, create that method now. Public void start client. And again, last thing we're going to do is start up the client using our previous line, network manager.singleton.start client. Boom. Adam's back. you've not missed much. You've missed a lot of bad programming, and we're actually starting to make the tic-tac-toe now, the noughts and crosses. So we've updated the game manager, so we've got a game state flow now, and we're gonna slowly kind of work our way through filling out some behavior to, you know, get players connecting, wait for multiple players to be connected to then start the game, and then take it in turns until someone has won, which is going to be a fun one, because I can never for the life of me remember like the best way to check across the grid where like what the win condition is, although it should be straightforward enough. So yeah, why do you understand? Why do you ask these questions? It's a fantastic question indeed. Okay, so what we're going to do now, rather than how we had it before in the game manager, where we're waiting for on-network spawn to be run and then doing all of these callbacks, we're actually going to go ahead and listen to these callbacks over on here. So we can do network manager dot on client connected plus equals network manager dot network manager underscore on server. There we go. Network manager underscore server on client connected, because this is when we start the host. And we'll do the same for on client disconnected. Network manager dot on client disconnected callback plus equals network manager underscore client on client disconnected. Make ourselves a method for that. I'm going to go ahead and just put these the other way around so that I don't get confused. Cool. So these methods then can be what we use to actually handle adding in new players, or adding in new player data and removing player data when players disconnect and all the rest of it. So I'm going to go ahead and in our struct down here, we're going to have a public ulong client ID, and that's going to keep track of the client that is connected. So in our server on client connected, rather than throwing a exception, we can do player network data dot add, and we're going to add in a new player data where client ID is equal to obj, which, as I mentioned before, on these callbacks, this ulong is the client, the ID of the client that has triggered this event. Likewise, let's make sure I'm doing this right. Server on client disconnected. Over here, we are going to iterate over our connected client array. So for int I equals 0, I is less than player network data list dot count I++. We're going to say var player data equals player network list I. We will do a check to say if the player data dot client ID is equal to obj, aka the client that is disconnected. If it is, this client has disconnected. So we'll go ahead and remove player network data dot remove at the index of I, and then we'll break because we've only got the one disconnection to handle there. Fantastic stuff. So I believe with this we could probably now use that to keep track of like what players we have in the UI. Just do a quick double check. Yeah, so in our game test view now, rather than listening to the game manager .connected value blah 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 blah, we will listen to brain tick tack toe network driver dot instance dot on player network data list changed. We'll go ahead, we will change this to tic-tac-toe network driver underscore on player list changed. Generate a method for that. And how are we going to handle that? We are probably going to want to give ourselves a just a little callback for checking stuff. In fact, I don't think we even need to do that necessarily. We can just say connected players display dot text equals game network driver, not game network driver, tic-tac-toe network driver dot instance dot player do I make this public? I don't think I do. I don't think I do. I think what I do instead is just let's have a public int players in game, which is going to simply return straight up player network data dot count. And let's just do connected players display dot text equals tic-tac-toe dot instance dot players in game dot toString. Amazing. Cool. So I'm going to just go ahead and remove all of the stuff from the game manager about connected players. We'll just go ahead here. Actually, we can change this to tic-tac-toe network driver dot instance dot players in game. Remove that. Remove that. Actually, we'll keep this around for now. We'll just do nothing. Easy peasy. Cool. Let's go ahead and create an empty. This is going to be our network driver. Go ahead and stick that on there. Let's also go ahead and just like reset the position of all of these objects because they're floating around in the ether right now. Reset. There we go. Not have you as a child. So theoretically now, if I no, that's interesting. editor prefs get in is not allowed to be called from a mono behavior construct. Eh? That's an error I've not seen before. Yeah, okay. I can't make it a new thing up here, I think is what it's trying to say. So let's go ahead in awake. Player network data player network data equals new. Amazing. And it might be because I was using a different version before that we had to do that manual initialization that I was talking about previously. But let's find out. Host game. Oh, getting a not implemented exception multiple times. What? Oh, I know why. It's because we're not actually, we haven't set up our serialization yet. So, yeah, very, very important thing here. We need to actually, we need to tell the thing how to serialize, and how to check if something's equal. So, first of all, for checking if something's equal, we'll just return, client ID is equal to other.client ID. Quite simple. And then for the serialization, we want to do serializer.serialize value of type ulong. And then we pass in ref client ID. Simple as. And actually, by looks, we don't even have to specify the generic. We can just do serializer.serialize value. And again, specifically with this, you know, it only works with non-nullables or reference types. So ulong, strings you can't do. You have to use something like the fixed size strings, which I can't for the life of me remember what they're actually called, but we will get to it, I'm sure, with like introducing usernames and that. But yeah, things like ints, ulongs, floats, they're all fine. Structs are all good as long as they're either sorry, not structs, enums are all good. Structs are also good as long as you define how they should be serialized. Yeah, happy days. So now that we fixed that, we should hopefully not be running into any problems with errors. Good. Yeah, we still just are not getting... Oh gosh, players in game 3, that's a bug. They're going to keep going up by 3 every time. 15, 21, 28. So that's very interesting. I wonder why we're getting that. It's going to be this. This is going to be giving us grief. We want to make sure that we do a call public void on server, on disconnected from server, and we just want to... Ooh. I guess maybe we don't want to do that. We want to stop listening to these events though, because otherwise it's going to double up, and that is not preferable. Let's have a look and see how we're doing this. I think it's something like on network destroy or something like that. On network despawn. Let's give that a shot. So let's go ahead and stick it under here actually. On network. Override on network despawn. Do we need to call the base? We don't need to call the base. Fantastic. So let's go ahead and just do a check. If is server, we'll unsubscribe from these events. I wonder if there's like an on server shutdown or something. Nope. Cool. I mean, that's fine. So yeah, we start the host. That's going to subscribe to these. Oh well, yeah, when we call start host, we subscribe to the methods first and foremost, and then we start the host. On starting host, we do network manager, server on client connected, blah, blah, blah. Yep, adds the new player to the list. When we disconnect, we're going to remove the player from the list. Start client, we will eventually subscribe. Let's put a to-do in here. To-do subscribe to client connect. And disconnect events. Very nice. Cool. And what I'm going to do over in my test UI, I am simply going to do what do I want to do actually? I need to figure out a way to properly handle players in there. Yeah, I guess we probably want to have a let's switch this up. Let's switch this up. We will have a method on here instead called like get connected players or something. Public int get connected players. And we will return play network data.count. We will also have a public bool is player ID connected. I feel like that's a good name. We'll pass in an int. Whoops. ID. And we will return yeah, that makes a lot of sense. ID is less than player network data.count. So one can assume that if we pass in an index greater than the number of players in the game, they're not going to be connected. So yeah, stands to reason that that's true. Let's also give ourselves a utility public player data get player data by index. pass in int ID, and we will return return player network data ID. Now this is kind of prone to error. Really what we would like to do is do like a if not is player connected, then we'll throw new index out of range exception. Which will crash the whole game. So probably not the best way to fail-safe it. We probably just want to return default, because we can't return null because it's a struct and structs are non-nullable. Oh, what am I doing? What did I just call the method? Get connected players. Yeah, get connected players. Brackets. .toString. Cool, cool, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I think that should be good. I imagine probably the issue that we've got is just the fact that... Oh, wait, what? There we go. It's going to be that everything's like in the scene, so there's some weird race condition that's going on with callbacks that's stopping this from updating on our host. Because like you can see, if we go over here and we join as a client, it does in fact update to 2. We've got 2 over here. We can disconnect here. We end up with 1. Disconnect. Great. Host game. Players in game 2. Lies. There's 1 player in the game. We're not deleting our player objects. Oh, there is so much. Wait, but that has deleted. Nope. Some weird abruptness in the Minecraft music there. Why are we getting multiple spawns? Did I start spawning people in over here? I didn't. No. Oh, yeah, we're not unsubscribing from events. Always unsubscribe from your events, people. Public override on network despawn. This is what I get for coding at like nearly 10 o'clock, and I'm hungry as well. I need to go make myself some food, but I don't particularly want to wrap yet. But that should now fix our spawning problem, which, to be fair, doesn't explain the issue over here with network data lists being all squiffy. I imagine the problem is that we are probably unsubscribing before it gets the chance to fire off after we've disconnected as the host. That would be my guess anyway. Or like the event fire is just taking way too long compared to when the host has actually started, so it is like it's not subscribed yet. or it just doesn't make any sense though, because we're subscribing here in the awake, on playlist changed, and then tic-tac-toe. The players display the text using the instance, get connected players to string. And that's only going to be run when the value is updated. Yeah, on this change plus equals this method. And that's firing off our event. Yeah, it's very peculiar, very peculiar. We do somehow have some functional behavior though, so I can go ahead and join in here. There's 2 members, disconnect, we got 1. If I disconnect from here again and then host a game, we've got 2 again. Yeah, so I think it's something's going on with our on-client disconnect where it's not actually removing our client. So let's go ahead and actually just debug this real quick. And I may well make this the last thing I do, because I'm starting to hit a point of drowse where I think efficient coding is beyond me. Host game, disconnect, host game, plays in game 2. Yeah, we're not getting our woo, no thank you. We're not getting our debug log here for removed client from list when we disconnect as the host, which is very annoying, and it's going to be because of this. I can almost guarantee it's going to be because of that. If I just comment that out real quick. Host game, disconnect. It's not because of that. That's interesting. Okay, so what's going on in that case then? Because we do get the client disconnected message. We host game, client connected, disconnect. We don't get the client disconnected message. Ooh, okay, that's good to know. Ooh, that is good to know. Let's find out what shutdown does. Shuts down the network manager completely and destroys the singleton. This is required if a new network manager instance needs to be created after the original one was destroyed. The example below has a reference to the game object with the network manager on it and destroys the instance before calling shutdown. I see. Wonder. That's handy. That is fantastic. Thank you, Unity. Literally tells me nothing. I might be a bit too deep though, and I'm in the very wrong version of the documentation. Do we have network manager components, network manager, disconnecting and shutting down? Disconnecting is rather simple, we can't use /access any subsystems, blah blah blah. Once network manager stop because no one available, yeah, makes sense. Network manager shut down. We'll disconnect while shutting down. Disconnecting clients. Yeah, so why is it not disconnecting our host, I wonder? Let me do a test and see if I can just stop the host straight up from in here. So on my network manager, if I stop host, yeah, it doesn't. Doesn't actually do the thing. That's very interesting. I wonder why that's happening. I feel like that might be a bug. Yeah, because we're subscribing to it on the host. When we start host, subscribe to on client disconnected. Unless it's not, but it is connecting the client. Because we're getting this call, debug. Whoop. I don't need to put a debug line in there. I know we're getting that call because we're getting it over in the game manager. No, we're not. New client connected. That's thrown on the server. Yeah, it's not calling any of the things. So I think when we start our host, it's not actually creating us a client yet, or it's not connecting us a client, which feels suspicious, or like the server isn't picking up on its own client connecting, which again feels suspicious. I don't like that at all. Yeah, that doesn't feel right at all. Start host, subscribe there. I'm gonna just rename this real quick with another underscore, so that I can see what I'm doing a little bit more clearly. How long have we been going for, actually? I haven't really been paying attention. I think it's been just over 2 hours. Yeah, it's been like 2:15. Nutty. I'm definitely calling start host on here. So yeah, we're doing network manager at the same as start host. So this absolutely should be getting fired. Should 100% be getting fired off. And actually, I know it's getting fired off because we are getting we're getting a player added to our list. On client disconnect callback plus equals disconnected. Yeah, we iterate through. Checking for player to remove. I don't need an else because we're breaking. Let's do it like that. So yeah, this ulong that we're getting here should be the ID of the player that's left, and it should match up with the player that had originally joined. So we're going to throw in a little debug log to say that the ID doesn't line up, and I'm actually going to just go in here and comment out our debug logs on the game manager because I don't want them making noise. Ooh, bless me. Yeah, I don't want them making noise while I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So we host game, client connected to the server. That is our call that we're getting from this line here. And then we disconnect. It doesn't even fire the event. That feels wrong. That feels wrong. Let me do a double check. On client disconnect not firing for host. Network manager. I need like an actual reference, not here we go, API reference. Netcode. Network manager. Events on client disconnect. Here we go. Callback to invoke when a client disconnect. This callback is only run on the server and on the local client that disconnects. So why is it not running? Because I assumed it would be because we were unsubscribing before it actually gets the chance, but that's just not true. It's not even, yeah, it's not even on client disconnect, yeah. Plus equals on network manager, yeah. I feel like I'm missing something really obvious, but there's no way I can be. Or like that, yeah, it's just not jumping out. Because I mean, you know, if we go ahead and spin up a secondary client, host the game, if we join the game here and disconnect, you can see we do get that call, client with ID doesn't match 0, removed client from list. If I disconnect here, it just doesn't fire it at all. That is so weird. So weird. I genuinely don't understand what is going on with that. Network manager, host game. Yeah, we have a host. Disconnect. Could it just be that it's taking too long? No, because if I stop post here, it doesn't do the thing. But actually, it's not updating anything here. Ooh. Oh yeah, because I'm not running the function, so it's not doing the thing. But that is so very odd. Very, 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 very odd. Odd that the UI is not updating properly as well. But I'm stumped. I'm stumped. So I think I'm gonna have to leave it there because we'll be going for like 2 hours and 15 or 2.5 hours, give or take. Yeah, I'm very confused as to why that's working. If anybody watching this stream back sees anything that I'm missing, that I'm being really like dumb over, because I've done this same system before. I've had the same approach and it works, but I was using a different version, so something might have changed that I'm missing, in which case, I'll tell you what, let me try one more thing. Let me try one more thing real quick. Button, there we go. I'm going to just do player network data.initialize and pass in this and see if that makes any difference. I can't see that it should. Let's not pass in this, let's pass in instance. I can't see that it should make any difference, but I want to give it a try just in case. Nope, nothing. Client connected to the server. It's so weird. So weird that it's getting the connection. It's doing the connected one, but it's not doing the disconnected one. I don't understand why. Like genuinely, why? Because it should. absolutely should be firing that on disconnect callback. I want to figure it out. I want to figure it out, but I also need to sleep. Don't imagine on client connected. Yeah, I'm so incredibly stumped. The host is just behaving weird compared to the client. It also looks like the stream might have gone out of sync a little bit. I'm not sure. I'm gonna keep trying to bash away at this though. I'm determined. If we're the server, no, we're ignoring that. That's the despawn. Start a host. I'll disconnect. Resubscribe. Netcode for game objects does shut down on host. Disconnect a client. No, I don't want that. That's not what I'm looking for. No replies. Oh, this is... Oh, yeah, I genuinely don't know what's going on with this. Like, why the host isn't handling its shiznit. I tell you what, let me create an event handler real quick. On player disconnected, and I'm gonna just take this and fire it in here. And then over on the game test view, rather than doing this here like that, I'm going to create a callback tic-tac-toe network driver.instance.on player disconnected plus equals I realise this is only going to run on the server now that I lay it out. This isn't going to run on the clients. Oh wait, yeah, it is on because it runs on the local client as well. I don't think it will though, will it? I'm being stupid. Let's test it. I'm pretty sure it won't. But this is the last thing, and then I'm calling it a night. Because I'm well and truly stamped. I'll have to do some offline debugging. Join game, disconnect. Yeah, no. I suppose I want to fire it on all the clients, don't I? Brain. Yeah, ensure events are fired on client using. I mean, yeah, that's effectively what I'm doing in me. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to go away and do some digging, but with that, I would like to say thank you to everybody who came and watched the stream. I will, like I said at the start, I will be doing lots more streams again, primarily Tuesday evening, Saturday during the day, potentially Friday evening. I think I might try and do another stream on Monday because it's a bank holiday, everyone's working, so I'll have a little bit more free time to kind of mess with stuff, although I am getting a new cap, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm gonna play with this some more and see if I can figure out what on earth is going on. But until then, yeah, thank you for coming along. If you haven't already, please consider wishlisting Tilelands on Steam. It's top link in the description. Also, if you see what I'm doing wrong or anything that I've missed in this stream, please join the Discord server and send me a message, because it would stop me from going insane. But yeah, I will be back on Tuesday, if not before.